The Miami Dolphins and Los Angeles Chargers are set to face off this Sunday in a massive Week 6 showdown. And trust me, this game means everything. The pressure is sky high for Mike McDaniel and several other coaches whose futures could depend on how this one plays out. But that's not all. We've also got some crucial injury updates heading into kickoff that could shape the outcome of this matchup. Before we get into it, let's take a moment. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. And of course, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update on all things NFL. Now, back to business. The first major injury update centers around kicker Jason Sanders. He was placed on injured reserve before the season began, and Riley Patterson has stepped up in his place through the first 5 weeks. Sanders was eligible to return last week against the Panthers, but didn't suit up, and Coach McDaniel confirmed he'll remain on IR for now. The team hasn't even opened his 21-day practice window yet, which means Patterson will continue to handle kicking duties for the foreseeable future. And honestly, that's not a bad thing at all. Patterson has been money for Miami, reliable, consistent, and clutch. There hasn't been a single moment where the Dolphins have hesitated to go for a field goal because of him. Whether it's a short kick or something from deep, Patterson's confidence has been rock solid. For now, the Dolphins look to be in great hands, or should I say, great feet, as they prepare for one of the most important games of their season. Riley Patterson has been nothing short of automatic. The man hasn't missed a single extra point, and he's a perfect 5 for 5 on field goals so far this season. Sure, none of those kicks have been from beyond 50 yards yet. All have been in the 36 to 47-yard range, but that consistency speaks volumes. When your kicker is perfect from that distance, you don't mess with it. There's absolutely no reason to rush Jason Sanders back from that hamstring injury. Patterson has earned every bit of trust this coaching staff can give him. So shout out to Riley Patterson, or as fans are starting to call him, RP Money. Now, moving to another key storyline, linebacker Tyrel Dodson. He left Sunday's game against the Panthers with a head injury and entered concussion protocol right after. As of Wednesday afternoon, he's still in that protocol. Head coach Mike McDaniel mentioned that the team is reevaluating both KJ Britt and Willie Gay Jr. this week to determine how snaps will be distributed at linebacker. According to Barry Jackson's report, Britt has been viewed as Dodson's direct replacement, while Gay Jr. has been filling in more as the stand-in for Jordan Brooks. When Dodson went down against Carolina, Britt stepped in and played over 20 snaps. A solid effort, but it raises questions about whether Miami should consider shifting things around. Because here's the thing, while Britt has played more overall snaps, 23 compared to Gay's 17, Willie Gay Jr. has looked sharper and more explosive when he's on the field. His limited action has shown flashes of real playmaking ability. The Dolphins coaching staff now faces a tough but crucial decision. Stick with consistency in Britt, or take a chance on the higher ceiling that Willie Gay Jr. might bring. Willie Gay Jr. is the kind of linebacker every struggling defense dreams of having. He's faster, more athletic, and simply more rangy than anyone else Miami has at that position. He's graded higher in coverage, plays with real intensity, and honestly, it's mind-boggling that he's not getting more snaps. After what we saw in the preseason and those joint practices, you'd think Miami would be all over giving him a bigger role. This defense has been one of the weakest in football, and yet they're keeping one of their most explosive defenders on the sideline? That's beyond frustrating. Now I want to hear from you. Who should step in for Tyrel Dodson at linebacker? If you're rolling with Willie Gay Jr., type WG in the comments. If you still think KJ Britt should get the nod, drop KJ below. Let's see where the fan base stands on this one. But look, let's be real. The lack of usage for Willie Gay Jr. through 5 weeks is just unacceptable. He's athletic, fiery, and plays every snap like it's his last. You can't coach that kind of effort. Reports out of training camp had him dominating practices, so how does it make sense that he's barely seeing the field now? This defense needs a spark, and Willie Gay is exactly that. If he's not on the field for at least half of the defensive snaps this Sunday, it's not just disappointing, it's malpractice. Miami needs change, and they need it fast. The fans are tired of excuses. If the Dolphins want to split reps between KJ Britt and Willie Gay Jr., that's fine. But come on, at least get Willie out there for 35 snaps. If your defense is on the field for 65 plays, there's no excuse for him not to be out there for at least half of them. He's too athletic, too energetic, and too impactful to keep watching from the sidelines. It's time for Miami to make a real adjustment and give this defense a pulse. Now, let's turn our attention to the Los Angeles Chargers, because there's just as much happening on their side heading into this Week 6 matchup. In fact, the Chargers made one of the more surprising moves of the week on Tuesday afternoon, striking a deal with the Baltimore Ravens to acquire edge rusher Alt Oweh. That trade turned a lot of heads across the league. Oweh, known for his explosive speed and raw athleticism, brings an instant boost to the Chargers' pass rush, something they've been desperate for. Pairing him with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack could turn this defensive front into a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks, and Miami's offensive line will absolutely have their hands full. This move signals one thing clearly: the Chargers are going all in right now. They're not waiting for later in the season to fix their problems. They're making bold moves to win this week, and that should make this matchup even more intense. The big question now: will Alt Oweh actually play this Sunday against the Miami Dolphins? According to Jim Harbaugh's Wednesday press conference, the answer appears to be yes. Harbaugh said he expects Oweh to suit up and even compared him to Khalil Mack, a powerful, fast edge rusher who can set the edge and create havoc in the backfield. And that's bad news for Miami. The Dolphins already have one of the most inconsistent offensive lines in the league, and now they'll have to face an energized, newly acquired pass rusher in Oweh, lining up alongside Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Just great, right? Sometimes, this team's luck feels unreal. Now, let's be fair. Oweh hasn't exactly been lighting up the stat sheet this season. After a strong 2024 campaign, this year's numbers have been underwhelming. But even without big sack totals, his advanced metrics tell a different story. He's graded at 72.3 as a pass rusher and owns a 16.4% pass rush win rate, which actually ranks inside the top 25 among all edge rushers. In other words, he's getting to the quarterback, even if it's not always showing up on paper. Baltimore decided to move on before the offseason, trading him now rather than losing him for nothing later. And now, Oweh steps into a Chargers defense that's already dangerous and desperate for consistency. Against a shaky Dolphins offensive line, this could be his perfect breakout opportunity. And don't forget, we'll be live on Sunday for full Chargers vs. Dolphins Week 6 coverage, breaking down every play, every highlight, and every key moment. So make sure you're subscribed and ready to join us live. Let's move on to another big storyline. Chargers offensive tackle Joe Alt head coach Jim Harbaugh mentioned that Alt didn't practice on Wednesday, but is progressing nicely. Realistically, though, that tells us he's probably not going to play this Sunday against the Miami Dolphins. That was already the expectation after Alt suffered a high ankle sprain a couple of weeks ago, and those injuries usually take 3 to 4 weeks to fully heal. So, his absence gives Miami a rare break heading into this matchup. Because let's be honest, this Chargers offensive line is an absolute mess right now. Without Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, who's already out for the season, things have gone from bad to worse. The Chargers have been rolling with Austin DeCoulis, Zion Johnson, Bradley Bozeman, Mekhi Becton, and Trey Pipkins as their starting five, and the results have been ugly. Their PFF grades tell the story. Not a single one of them has cracked the 60s. DeCoulis and Pipkins both rank among the bottom 11 tackles in the league. Becton has struggled mightily, and Bozeman has been brutal, grading out as the second-worst center in the entire NFL. There's even talk that Bozeman could be benched this week for veteran Andre James, the former Raiders lineman, just to bring some stability. That's how desperate things have gotten in Los Angeles. And here's why this matters. Miami's front seven has been one of the league's most underperforming units this year. But if there was ever a week for them to get back on track, this is it. Facing one of the weakest defensive lines in football gives them no excuses. It's time to attack, dominate, and finally look like the defense fans expected to see all season. At the start of the season, I genuinely thought Miami's front seven would be the strength of this football team. Boy, was I wrong. Through 5 weeks, they've been anything but dominant, struggling to generate pressure and getting gashed on the ground week after week. Right now, this defense ranks near the bottom of the league in almost every major category, and their run defense has been flat-out embarrassing. If this group can't take advantage of one of the weakest offensive lines in football, then we've officially hit rock bottom. Let's be honest, the Chargers' offensive line has been atrocious. It's right there with Miami's, maybe even worse. and now they're dealing with even more setbacks. Their rookie first-round pick, Amarian Hampton out of North Carolina, was just starting to look like the player they drafted him to be, especially in recent games against the Giants and Commanders, but he's now been placed on injured reserve. That means the Chargers will roll into this matchup with Hassan Haskins and Kamani Vidal as their top two running backs. And sure, on paper, that doesn't sound threatening. But Dolphins fans, don't get too comfortable. Just last week, Rico Dowdle ran for over 200 yards against this defense. So, no excuses this time. Miami's front seven has to step up. You're facing a battered offensive line and two backup-level running backs. If you still can't dominate at the line of scrimmage, then something is seriously broken, not just with this defense, but with the entire approach of this football team. It's hard to believe Miami will suddenly figure out how to stop the run, not after how awful they've looked all season defending it. All right, that's it for the news today. Now it's time for your favorite part, score predictions. We're skipping the full preview this week because, let's be honest, I don't think anyone's in the mood for a breakdown right now. But I do want to hear your thoughts, so drop your predictions for Dolphins versus Chargers down in the comments. Here's mine. I think the Chargers come into Miami and pull off the win. Vegas has them as 4.5-point favorites, and I think they'll cover, but barely. I expect this to be a close game, mostly because the Chargers' offensive line is still banged up and inconsistent. Remember, this is the same LA team that lost to the Giants on the road and the Commanders at home the last 2 weeks. Still, I just don't trust this Dolphins team right now. The body language, the energy, and the coaching, it all feels like a group that's checked out. So give me the Chargers 31, Dolphins 25. That's going to do it for today's video. We'll be live later tonight, and again on Sunday for NFL Week 6. So make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us for daily Dolphins coverage and instant game reactions.